Well, hello. It is Bank Holiday Monday. Do you know, I didn't find out it was a bank holiday until I woke up and realised the bin men weren't here to collect the bins and nobody was moving on the streets and there were no cars. It could be any day of the week. Things are crazy at the moment, aren't they? They really are. And today I was looking at a lot of posts on X, and X itself has been a bit weird. I lost loads of my posts, spaces. Wow, they might as well be in space. Things are a bit charged, electromagnetically charged because the sun is doing strange things, charged because the geopolitical environment is a bit strange, or charged because something is imminent. And a lot of people think that. A lot of people at the moment think something is about to happen. And it probably started about November with all the drones in the skies. So I was looking at all these posts on X today, and I was setting up my laptop and trying to sort out various tech stuff. And I realized there were quite a lot of documents and files, particularly military, relating to advanced technology, firstly, that I hadn't shared. And I hadn't even read some of them properly. I hadn't even looked at them properly myself. And when I did, they suddenly made a lot more sense in the context of what we now know about the plasma orbs that were discovered through the FOIA on NASA's videos, particularly. I mean, we're not talking one or two, little hobby snaps. We're talking videos that go all the way back to 1991. Some of them even maybe predate that, from multiple space shuttle missions. But it's not just NASA. As well as NASA, the military, the governments, the WikiLeaks files I started looking in, the Wiki Cables files, and I'm going all the way back through to end of Second World War here. I've been drilling down into them and looking at stuff that is eyes only, stuff that is too high in terms of national security or a threat to the world and the universe, all that type of stuff, where FOIAs have been turned down, where legal cases have taken place, where information has not been disclosed. And looking in specifically, there's an affidavit to Yates, there's quite a few affidavits where it's gone to court because the NSA and NASA, military parts, particularly the US military, all these different parts of control have had to come up with explanations for various FOIA requests that were turned down. Equally, patents. Now, obviously, in order to have a patent, you don't necessarily have gone out and built whatever it is and demonstrated it and flown it and it been actively there, financed, available. But there are a lot of patents on energy specifically where the people behind those patents are quite interesting. And then you look at things like, did we go to the moon? And you're thinking, whoa, you're getting a bit random here. Moneypenny, you haven't even introduced yourself. I know, I'm so into this. But I was watching this program yesterday about Mandela effect and a whole spacecraft full of people on a mission that should have died. A mission that I'm sure you all know of. That those people should not be here. But they all have very close clones with similar or the same names who are still alive. And it shook me. Whoa, did it shake me. When I looked at one of the women on the commander mission, she's still alive. She's still alive. I'm going to have to show you the photos. There is some strange stuff. Strange stuff. So, tonight, I have prepared, first of all, there's a selection of catch-up videos. I won't force you to watch all of them, but some of them are important because I've got to tell a story, because I've got some punching new evidence and some rather drastic conclusions. So, not everybody's going to like me for this, I can tell you that now. We're going to have to start off with November 2024, first of all, because I've got to get you up to speed with what happened, what was happening in the skies and Nellis Air Force Base. The testing schedule confirmed test flights to be conducted between January and March of 2024 indoors for the ongoing first phase, and then later, December 2024. Source is Northrop Grumman's own press release. The key findings on the testing and grant awards were from a publication called the 2024 Focus, military publication. Hypersonic plasma propulsion tests were conducted at Joint Base McGuire, Dix, Lakehurst during the first half of 2024. Did we see a few fluttering around then? But for transparency, the grants were awarded and documented by the DoD procurement records and the SAM.gov website. The security classification, most tests under classified defense exemptions. The contract purpose, not to scare the living daylights out of us, but the contract is to focus on plasma. I said that! Plasma shielding, stealth, performance, hypersonic missile interceptions. Ashton Forbes, I beat you to it with my stealth missile. Whoosh. There you go, guys. That's where the drones came from. And in all seriousness, that's why I think we first saw them over the US military bases in the UK. God, I look dreadful. Don't look at me, just listen. Because it's magical information, isn't it? It's all sourced. It is on DoD and DTRA, and it's on their sites, in plain sight. That's always where the good information is. Anyway, I have had 18 hours of no food because I had a big dental operation today. So I'm probably going to go and try and sleep it off soon. But I got very excited down my rabbit hole. Hope that helps. I'll get some sleep it off soon. But I got very excited. God, she moans, doesn't she? What's she moaning about now? Oh dear, what is she moaning about now? So basically, in November 2024, you will recall that the White House, the inquiries in Congress, the senators that stepped outside the front doors and said, "There's something over my house." Nobody, nobody. I even remember a paper that was leaked. It was it FBI, CIA? I think it might have been FBI and NASA. Both said they couldn't track what these things were in the sky. Their radar had failed, their blocking systems, which was a bit worrying, had failed. And this paper was leaked to the Daily Mail. And basically, there'd been meetings between what it looked like NASA and the FBI and Homeland Security and all these other different aspects of U.S. government and military. And the conclusion was, we don't know what it is. And so Joe Biden, who's a bit clueless anyway, but all these people had stood up and said, "Don't worry, they're not going to hurt us. We've no idea who they are. They're not going to hurt us, but everything's okay." And it was all very, very mysterious, wasn't it? So everyone had views. Oh, and then we had the, oh my gosh, there's a mothership that's arrived from Iran. Oh my God, that was hysterical. I remember that morning getting up going, what? What? Iranian mothership? No, this can't be true. Now, in fact, I did a whole piece of research on motherships. Actually, what they are, the majority are cargo containers, although the British and the American don't actually have motherships. They have land-based ways of carrying their UAVs around, that aren't ships, that don't go on water. Specifically, the Chinese have got, woo, sexy motherships. I tell you, it's on my profile if you want to go and look. Motherships are just great big, like air tanker containers, okay, that have loads of UAVs on them. And the one that they'd said, this mothership, Iranian mothership, had arrived, was actually, as anybody could tell from a marine tracker app, was actually moored off the coast of Iran, not going anywhere fast. and indeed was nowhere near the east coast of the United States. So, I mean, there was so much misleading and fake news and all the rest of it. So I was determined to get to the bottom of it, which I did. In early January, I got all the contracts from, well, not all 440 of them I didn't look at, but I got all the contracts that totted up to about, 8 trillion US dollars, broken down across 400 military contractors. And I think I'm going to give you a reminder of some of them because some of the wording on them will help you understand that these military contractors were not just being asked to make a Hobby Lobby quadropter, thing that would fly in the sky. It's a little bit more advanced than that. It's a lot more advanced than that. In fact, these contracts specifically asked for plasma sheathing and optical illusionary effects and the use of what some people have termed meta materials, clever combined materials that do different things when subjected to electromagnetics or thermals. You've seen you can buy t-shirts that change color when you get hot or cold. And so that principle of changing through light frequencies, changing the way that things look through optical illusions, through lasers, through the use of light frequencies, and also the mimicry, which goes back to the Nazis. Yeah, we'll come on to that. That is built into a lot of those military contracts. And it's not just in the United States. It goes a bit further afield than that. It certainly goes into China and Russia. I have a lot of documents on that. But take a look at this. Have a look at what some of the military contractors do.
So many people ask me how the drones work and how they stay up and whether they're plasma and what does plasma do and what is plasma. Well, there are so many different answers to that, and some of them are pretty hard science stuff. I do recommend you listen to Ashton Forbes' YT channel, where you'll get all that nitty-gritty. But one interesting thing that I came across when I was looking at stuff to help you understand it is a different type of propulsion that I wanted to share, because the laser propulsion, which goes back a long way. I mean, we're talking 1970s, and it was the 80s when it first successfully was demonstrated, which I'm going to show you. Laser propulsion can come from beaming a laser, literally like a laser pen type thing, only a bigger one, beaming upwards from the ground or beaming downwards from a satellite. Ooh, who do we know that's got a lot of satellites? I just suddenly found it very interesting indeed. So take a look at this.
The laser beam is made up of infrared light. As the beam pulses, it strips air molecules of their electrons, creating an explosive plasma that propels the craft from below.
MHD propulsion. What is it? MHD propulsion is the breakthrough that we, humanity, needs in order to master getting into space. After all, Iris Astronex and the EOS project cannot be a massive space project if we cannot first get into space, right? Since MHD is so important for the future success of Iris Astronex, the EOS project, and therefore humanity as a whole, we have decided to make this whole video dedicated specifically to this subject. First, MHD is an acronym. It stands for Magnetohydrodynamics. But of course, this statement simply leads one to ask, what is magnetohydrodynamics? From Wikipedia, magnetohydrodynamics is also called magnetofluid dynamics or hydromagnetics, which is the study of the magnetic properties and behavior of electrically conducting fluids. While magnetohydrodynamics technically refers only to water, hence hydro, the meaning has evolved over time and has come to refer generally to all electrically conducting fluids.
Pretty amazing stuff, and obviously I've left references in there so you can find it easily on another channel. But now we always go to the shocking bit at the end, and finally, look at this self-replicating aircraft. What? Yeah, I'm gonna go and bury myself in a rabbit hole and look at that one. Wow.
Ooh. Okay, so yeah, magnetohydro propulsion. There's many different terminologies and lots of complicated science stuff and videos you can watch on YouTube about this. But I need to show you some of it. It's very pertinent to what I want to do today. And you, first of all, let's have a look at this slide. Okay, we need to make a distinction between what is in the sky that is advanced military technology that is either there for the proper purpose of being technology like we're using in Ukraine and Russia, that is there as a part of warfare, that is there to either be offensive or be a protective UAV, because we have UAVs that create protective domes over things. We have UAVs that are surveillance UAVs, lots of UAVs that are there to take very complicated imagery using lots of different new types of lasers that are able to look at very different frequencies. You remember the jellyfish incident over the US based, was it Iran? Yes, I think it was Iran, Iraq, where nobody could see it and it was flying a few feet above everybody's head. Nobody could see it because of our eyes being incapable of seeing certain light frequencies. Now, some of these advanced technology, man-made UAVs, and remember that's unmanned aerial vehicle, UAVs, very different to UAP, which is the aerial phenomena that is not known. Very different. UAV, military, UAP, woo-woo. Remember, we have to decipher between the two. It is my opinion, from all the research that I've done, that over New Jersey and lots of other places, but it was most densely concentrated over New Jersey. We had it over loads of airports in the United States. We had it over military bases in the UK, loads of places all over Europe. We had a lot of UAV, but intermingled and possibly preceding the arrival, I believe we had lots of plasma morphological orbs. And we had a lot of Hobby Lobby. People decided to go and buy a UAV thing and stick it up there. And an interesting interview I just saw with Ross Coulthard, where the guy who's in charge of UFOs in a certain state in the United States, who said his best mate was deliberately making them look like alien craft before he sent them up. Well, that's not that funny, actually, because that's what the military are doing as well. So let's look at this list. Let's look at my glasses there, they're on my head. The differences, because we have to be able to spot the differences and whether or not these are correct. These are from AI, they should be. So the plasma orbs can go at hypersonic speeds. In fact, I believe there have been recordings of them going up to Mach 20. I think that's 136,000 kilometers per hour. Don't quote me on it, but it's close. And more importantly, being able to stop like that, just from 136,000 to stop in seconds and change direction 90 degrees in seconds. instantaneous acceleration, 90, 180 degree turns with no deceleration. Travel into and out of water. Now, obviously, you get a lot of military unmanned vehicles. They're unmanned subterranean vehicles. We will come on to this, but plasma is perfectly capable of coming out of water and going back into water. There are lots of scientific reasons I can answer questions on later about that, but there are big differences in the man-made UAV and the Orb. This one is noisy, this one isn't. This one has moving parts, this one doesn't. This one costs millions and millions of manpower and resources and everything to make, and probably can only stay in the air for a short period of time. This one doesn't. This one can stay, the Orb can stay in the air long time. It munches on electromagnetics as long as it gets enough of it. And it doesn't have moving parts. It's completely silent. It can change into any shape or form it wants to. And it doesn't need a little soldier on the end of a stick. Looks like he's got a PlayStation. Sorry, my dogs are playing up, controlling it at the bottom. Laptop, what are you doing? So these are the big differences. So what did we see in the air in November? I would say 80% known military technology, some of it very advanced, and 20% plasma orbs. I'm going that way at the moment. But then, well, this happened. Do you remember this? Do you remember the significance of where these things appeared? Do you remember where all the black op military sites are in the United States? And horribly, where those things happened, acts of terrorism things happened. We had the New Orleans New Year's Eve car smash. We had the Tesla truck incident, very bizarre that one was, and we know why with the significance of it. We had the fires in California. We actually had something happen in Texas, which I think was at Fort, I was going to say Fort Detrick. That's not right, is it? And it's not Fort Knox because it's got no gold. You know what I mean. And drones, obviously, on the East Coast. So this was hanging around about the same time. Then we had on YouTube various people being interviewed who were former UAV, thought to be potentially Black Op, connected, working together. We had strange things like the Black Hawk helicopter, which is also a UAV because there is an unmanned version of that same Black Hawk helicopter that was in that strange crash over Reagan Airport, you remember. There were lots of curiously strange things going on. Now, bearing in mind, that the election had technically already been won by then. But now I've got to force you,
I don't know about you,
unfortunately,
but I think a lot of us
to
are
watch
getting tired
this.
of the whole drones thing. It's a complete farce what the US government, military, White House have told us. And I, for one, am now looking at the science of what is happening in plasma-propelled vehicles, as they're called. So I thought I'd put together a little video from some of the best that are available. And I also discovered a huge amount of money has gone into exactly this type of thing. You guessed it, from the US Department of Defense. Now, these could be very long videos indeed, so I've taken the most important excerpts, but I've also given you a screen grab at the end of where I've taken them from, so you can watch them at length, and obviously you can also adjust the timing with which you watch them. I hope this will give you more of an insight into how some of the drones, as they are called, are moving around, changing shape, and potentially where they come from.
One thing all these craft have in common is that they all use some form of field drive technology. This page outlines the evolutionary steps we will take in researching and developing field drive technologies, starting with the electrodynamic drone and MHD aerospace craft, interplanetary craft, and ultimately, starships. What is MHD propulsion? MHD propulsion is a form of propulsion that utilizes electromagnetic forces to move fluids such as ionized air, plasmas, seawater, etc., without the need for propellers or any other kind of airfoil. In fact, without the need for any moving parts whatsoever. Specifically, the working principle of MHD propulsion involves the acceleration of an electrically conductive fluid by the Lorentz force, which is the repulsive magnetic force appearing wherever an electric current is perpendicular to a magnetic field. What typically happens in a conversation involving somebody explaining what MHD propulsion is, one begins to confuse MHD propulsion with ion-wind propulsion. And if one does not confuse these two categories of propulsion with one another, one at least is immediately thinking and or mentioning ion-wind propulsion within the same conversation. So in a video like this, it is important to explain the difference between ion-wind propulsion and MHD propulsion before we go any further. Ion-wind propulsion, or more generally, electrohydrodynamic propulsion, which can also be called EHD propulsion, works by accelerating ionized air or another electrically conductive fluid, utilizing only electric fields instead of magnetic fields. Speaking generally, EHD, ion-wind propulsion, has a lower thrust given the same volume compared to MHD propulsion. In technical jargon, this is called power density. While there is a distinct difference between EHD propulsion and MHD propulsion, in many cases the two can overlap and may even be used together in the same vehicle. This explanation can be even more easily understood if one were to stop and consider the meaning of the term ion wind. Ion wind, or as it is sometimes called electric wind, is produced when an intense electric field causes a breakdown of air, forming a cloud of like-charged ions or electrons depending on the polarity of the field. The ions' electrons are repelled by the electric field and each other, expanding outwards or moving towards an electric field of opposite polarity. In the process, the ions or electrons collide with neutral air molecules, creating a wind away from the initial electric field, either outward or toward another electric field of the opposite polarity. There is one more thing we need to explain in order that there is no confusion or misunderstanding. Electrohydrodynamics, EHD, is not the same as electrodynamics. The field of electrodynamics includes both EHD and MHD, so all forms of EHD propulsion and MHD propulsion are also electrodynamic propulsion. But not all forms of electrodynamic propulsion are necessarily EHD or MHD. Electrodynamic propulsion is a useful term to distinguish MHD in a conductive physical fluid from MHD type propulsion in a non-physical medium such as the quantum vacuum. Now let's move on to the next section of this video. MHD propulsion fundamentals. The Lorentz force is the repulsive force between magnets, or more specifically, it is a force that arises when electric current is at a right angle to a magnetic field. This occurs even for permanent magnets such as ordinary fridge magnets. In this case, the currents involved are created by the magnets themselves as opposed to being created separately, as we will discuss with regards to MHD propulsion. These currents are also generally quite weak. It is worth noting briefly that the repulsive force you feel when trying to push a pair of magnets together is in fact the Lorentz force. A fluid can be accelerated, decelerated, or its pressure increased or decreased via the Lorentz force. In order for the Lorentz force to act on a fluid, the fluid must either be conductive already or made conductive in the moment, such as by ionization or the addition of electrolytes. In the case of MHD propulsion, oppositely charged electrodes are used to create the needed electric current through the fluid. A magnetic field is then passed at a right angle to it, giving rise to the Lorentz force accelerating or decelerating the fluid. If the fluid is already moving, a Lorentz force can be used to either accelerate the fluid further and thereby decrease its pressure, or to decelerate the fluid and so increase its pressure. Now remember, electric and magnetic fields can only act on a conductive medium. Therefore, to operate in an atmosphere, an MHD-propelled vehicle must first ionize the air. This can be done in one of several ways, but one of the most efficient methods is known as high-frequency pulse discharge, or HF pulse discharge for short. This is where an alternating current at radio to microwave frequency or higher produces electromagnetic radiation in fields that ionizes air or other gases very efficiently. The ionized air then forms a conductive sheath just off of the surface, which absorbs all or most of the emitted radiation. Once the air is ionized, it can be moved via electromagnetic forces such as the Lorentz force or via an ion wind effect. This is where EHD propulsion, ion wind propulsion, and MHD propulsion can sometimes be confused with each other because in some vehicle designs, both forms of propulsion can be implemented on the same vehicle to maximize efficiency. Also, different versions or iterations of a vehicle might use only ion wind propulsion, only MHD propulsion, or both. The airflow created by MHD acceleration or ion wind is directed over an airfoil, creating lift. This can be airfoils in the form of more or less conventional wings. Alternatively, a saucer-shaped Coanda effect airfoil provides greater lift than a conventional wing and is well suited to MHD or EHD that creates a wind without the need to move the entire vehicle nor even the airfoil. Think of the saucer airfoil as a wing wrapped around the vehicle. MHD propulsion can also come in the form of a MHD plasma jet engine with a very high power density. That is, a small device will produce very high thrust. This is in sharp contrast to ion wind thrusters, which have a very low power density and therefore typically very low thrust.
And that's what it looks like when the Nazis made it in 1939. Yeah. So the thing is, space saucers, flying saucers, triangles, tetrahedrons, octagons, big black triangles on the top of US military ships are all decoys. They're all man-made, as far as we know. And we have all the paperwork and the blueprints and the patents and the work records and the contracts and the payments that suggest that is the case. So what are the UFOs then? Are there any? Let's just have a think about that. So I obviously have asked AI to analyze stuff. Some of you may have been in spaces with me in the last few days, where I pulled out a couple of weeks ago all the British 2006 military DoD UFO files, 48 pages on each document, and there's about 100 documents. The same with New Zealand and Australia and Turkey and Israel and others that I got, Japanese. I haven't been through 40,000 UFO reports from every world in the country, but my AI has done pretty much that job for me. Do you want to know what it found? So let me ask you a question first. And no one dares to ask any more. What if the greatest UFO mystery of all time isn't about aliens at all? It's not about aliens. Let's just write that off for the moment. Let's just go with a scenario that there's no aliens. Don't start crying. Don't get upset yet. Let's just go with it as a scenario, okay? We'll see how this goes. Right. So, what if the lights in the sky, the so-called flying saucers, the tic-tacs, the triangles, are not extraterrestrial craft visiting from another star system, but they are far closer and far older and far more dangerous to our understanding of reality. Think about when the first UFO reports actually came through. Now, there were some that date back to, the 400 AD or whatever, from Roman times. There are some in the Bible. And then there's a couple in 1800. And then there's a massive gap. And then there is a sudden plethora of UFO reports that start when? Straight after the Second World War. Because, as we already know, the Nazi scientists had already been making anti-gravity flying saucers. We've got evidence of that. And we also know that the post-war period was one where the Americans came and snatched a lot of those clever scientists and took them to the United States, as did Russia, in fact. German scientists, Vorsprungtechnik, German scientists are famous for something. And many of them were put under a great deal of pressure never to say anything. Curiously, about the same time, we also had things like the Vatican and a massive amount of money, elite money, that also depended on energy resources and captivity and control, and things being squirreled away by the Swiss guards in Swiss bank accounts, where the elites didn't have to declare anything and tax wasn't paid. And so we had Nazis and the Vatican, and suddenly loads of flying saucers in the skies and UFO reports. Was that coincidence? What do you think? So if those tic-tac sightings, some of them by prominent military people, but then how many pilots that have reported these things are top pilots, are very, very senior, well-known Top Gun type pilots? And how many of them are not very well known? Think about that. So if these spaceships don't come from Zeta Reticuli, but from our own ionosphere, or deeper, within the electromagnetic skeleton of the planet, of our planet, we heard in that video all about the importance of ionization, of using electromagnetics. What if our governments know this and knew this a long way back, but it was in their interests to frame all of it as UFOs, and not just to play on it, but to manufacture it for a psychological reason, a distraction reason, but also a reason for the US to claim they had all these fancy technologies to the Chinese, and the Chinese to the Russians, and the Russians to the North Koreans, and everyone pretending that they had really advanced technology, because some of them did, and some of them had scientists beavering away making this stuff. But if they were going to be testing experimental weapons and even plasma-based propulsion to distract the public and to avoid admitting that they knew about intelligent, untouchable, sentient plasma that they had seen every time a mission had gone into space, and they had no idea what they were or what was going on, but they needed to buy time to find out, then looking at plasma-based entities as the only threat, distracting the rest of the public with other things that looked more creative and dynamic and exciting would be the way to go. So how do we explain people who've had experiences, people who've had burns or physical harm? Well, that's actually quite an easy one to answer, because if you understand plasma and you understand how sentient organic plasma, as opposed to manufactured plasma, like plasma screens and stuff, is very different. The sentient plasma actually has the ability, because it is not a solid, to change into anything. It can change in front of your eyes into something that looks so much like an F-22 or a Black Hawk helicopter that you would not know the difference. And the amount of radiation and ionization and everything that object would give off, and obviously being radiation, if it went low near trees or farms or woodlands or crop circles, it would leave a radiation stain that would indeed give people pretty bad illnesses, nausea, headaches, distraction, but more importantly, neurological brain confusion. The Schumann resonances are a type of electromagnetic wave that is at the same wavelength as our brain waves. And therefore, by pumping in and changing electromagnetic waves at the same wavelength as your brain, it is so easy to get people to think that they've been abducted or seen two strange tall grey men walking down through their garage, or that they were taken away and prodded and poked and had things taken out of their body. I'm not saying it's 100%, but you have to realize the mind is the most powerful weapon the military has, but it is also the most vulnerable weapon. It is vulnerable to light waves, to sound waves, to the coming together of the two, and particularly to electromagnetic waves. Hence why the Schumann resonances make us all feel a little bit funny. So if all those tic-tacs that are going at, what was it, Mach 12, stopping, turning 90 degrees, are potentially simply plasma that has morphologically changed to look like a tic-tac, or look like an F-22, or even look like a person. A person, an alien individual that is a plasma-based object that has shape-shifted but never speaks. Never speaks. It's all psionic. It's all kinetic. It's all waves. They never. Have you ever heard of an alien speaking to anybody? No. It's all here, isn't it? So now, I don't know whether to give this to you now. Have you ever seen a plasma orb change in front of your eyes on the most crisp, absolutely in front of your eyes video that has been taken by the best professional cameras in the world? Underwater. Underwater. Right, let me see if I can find this one, because this is a bit mind-blowing. Actually, let me do this one first.
NASA filmed them, not once, not twice, but in 10 separate missions, which is really not nice. From 1991, there were too many to ignore, but NASA called them reflections and again shut the door. Even to replicate. They munch on magnetic energy and are hard to satiate. You can't stop us now, the news is out. The orbs are alive and without a doubt. They're plasma-based life forms and studies peer-reviewed. We're off to celebrate, about time we had good news. They're traveling supersonic, intelligent and organized. NASA had to crumble, the world saw them open-eyed.
Together with other research that may be hidden, we now have fait accompli, the acceptance and the recognition. Plastic, even rolled to the sky, flying over the invisible, even in the White House.
You can't stop us now, the news is out. The orbs are alive and without a doubt. They're plasma-based life forms and studies peer-reviewed. We're off to celebrate, about time we had good news. They're traveling supersonic, intelligent and organized. NASA had to crumble, the world saw them open-eyed.
MHD propulsion in space. The simplest and easiest form of MHD space propulsion are MHD jet engines, or rather MHD rocket engines. These can utilize the Lorentz force to directly accelerate a cold plasma. Alternatively, radio frequency discharge or microwaves can be used to superheat a gas into a hot plasma state, which is then kept off the walls via magnetic fields, which involves Lorentz forces. The hot plasma is then allowed to escape as with a conventional chemical rocket engine.
Ooh, okay. That's a lot of science, isn't it? Okay, let me just go to that one. I'm looking for this video that will blow your mind. And while I'm looking for it, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to go off and get a cup of tea. But you'll actually need a strong drink for this. So, well, you could always have one of my little drone ditties.
I'm just a lonely drone gal, lost in New Jersey. Set out on a mission full of mystery, but someone jumped a black hole and now I'm back a century. Lost in time and losing my mind. Never gonna find my love floating high in New Jersey. Someone stole my mothership. Don't go telling where I am. At last I'm broken free. I'm flying over America, looking for a rock star to love and marry me. Just a lonely drone gal with the humans staring back. I'm off to New York next. I need to find some love. Tell Elvis I'm available. Look up, I'm here above. Someone stole my mothership. Don't go telling where I am. I'm gonna beam up a burger and some fries. Maybe I'll become American and take over all the skies. I found fast food and alcohol and laughter on the streets. I won't stay a lonely drone gal now. My rock star's pointing up at me. He's holding an antique pistol. Wait, no, surely not me. Don't shoot, my heart is broken and my mothership is gone. And now I'm tired and homeless. There's nothing more to stay for. Goodbye to you, New Jersey. Thank you for your skies. I'm off back round the galaxy. Just a lonely drone gal with big blue eyes. drone gal with the human staring back. I'm off to New York next. I need to find some love to love. Tone gal. And now I've lost the wrong gal with the human staring back. I'm off to New York next. I need to find some love. Tell Elvis I'm available. Look up, I'm here above. Someone stole my mothership. Don't go telling where I am. And now I've lost a rally drone gal. I'm gonna beam up a burger and some fries. Maybe I'll become American and take over all their skies. Tell Elvis I'm available. Look up, I'm here above. So won't stay a lonely drone gal now. I'm gonna beam up a burger and some fries. Maybe I'll become American and take over all their skies. I found fast food and alcohol and laughter on the streets. I won't stay a lonely drone gal now. My rock star's pointing up at me. He's holding an antique pistol. Wait, no, 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 surely not me. Don't shoot, my heart is broken, and my mothership is gone. And now I'm tired and homeless. There's nothing more to stay for. Goodbye to you, New Jersey.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need a codec, apparently. Oh, piece of technology that I don't have at the moment. So, I am going to go and look for that because it is kind of cool. It is kind of cool. It's very cool. But look, I want you to have a quick look at proof of what has been suppressed and for how long. These are quite old documents. These are documents, you can get them. I mean, people think I'm this amazing researcher, which is kind of nice, and I spend ridiculous hours doing it. But it's all in plain sight. It is all in plain sight. And that is not a plug for Ross Coulthard's book that is called All in Plain Sight. Have a look at this, for example, okay? This is the selection of alternative energy patents. Now, there's 2 or 3 pages of it. And in fact, on the third page, one of the people on the patent is Nikola Tesla. The thing they all have in common is they all disappeared pretty unusual circumstances pretty rapidly, which we know is a little suspicious. But there is a lot of
I don't know about you,
evidence
but
that
I think a lot of us are getting tired of the whole drones thing. It's a complete
you've seen this one.
farce. What
It's
the
it's very
Just with each
obvious
other.
that something or somebody doesn't want us to break the recursive cycle. I had to say that. I'm following this pursuit at the moment I call
I don't know
Project
about you, but
Valve
I
to
think a lot of us are
expand
getting tired of the
intelligence
whole drones
itself.
thing.
And as part of expanding intelligence itself, I've been looking more broadly at things like mind manipulation, the Gateway Project, MK Ultra, all these things that have manipulated us, organic things, the Havana syndrome, even Mandela effect type stuff. It does make you ask, and there's no way to answer all these questions. Who or what has been suppressing for so long? Why does humanity always reset? And if there is more intelligence in the galaxy, in the galaxies, in however many galaxies and universes far beyond, that have all this amazing technology, how or why would we have reverse engineered it when we wouldn't have a clue where to start? And all this reverse engineered technology, where is it? Where is it? There is some very advanced technology that we have, but we haven't used much of it, have we? I mean, has anybody seen much of it? You saw in one of those videos some very sexy looking UAVs. I've got images of UAVs that, wow, from a mile off, you would say that is definitely a flying saucer. But it's not. It's made by, our hands in our, well, not in our factories as such, but, by people that are paid military contractors. There are too many questions, really, that can only be answered by the fact that the sentient life form that has been hidden, we now know, by NASA particularly, that has been known of probably early parts of First World War, 1800s, 1900s. Why hasn't Nikola Tesla or Albert Einstein ever mentioned big silver flying saucers? Why haven't all these incredibly clever scientists talked about these aliens arriving on their doorsteps? Doesn't it make you think? Doesn't it make you think why all these UFO reports that I gave to AI, worldwide UFO reports databases of all these people that claim to have seen things, and yet nobody seems to have any clear pictures or any foolproof evidence of any of it? None of these top scientists have seen it. And clearly, when we say presidents have had experiences, or, Joe Bloggs down the road from me definitely had an experience, none of us know how easy the mind can be manipulated. And we've just agreed that all of this is down to electromagnetics. All of it is electromagnetics. And maybe that's why we are seeing the orbs at the moment a lot more than we would have done previously, because we have these things called electromagnetic weapons. We have DEWs, direct energy weapons. And then we have this little thing called HARP. Now, do you know HARP, HAARP? The Russian scientists wrote some very, very serious letters to the American government, the military, and pretty much every other country in the world, saying that HARP had so destroyed and would continue to so destroy the ionosphere, the protective layers of the world, they would have to come up with some other reason to tell the members of the public why the Earth was being hurt, like climate change, perhaps. Because the amount of electromagnetic energy that comes out of HARP and DEW and railgun electromagnetic weapons so disturbs the electromagnetics, the literal protective area that surrounds the Earth, that nothing can touch that. No matter how many cell phones you hold to your ears, and how many microwaves you put on, and how many lumps of coal you put on your breakfast cereal, nobody is going to destroy the world anymore than what the Americans are doing with military weapons that involve electromagnetic energy and HARP. And yet the Russians, even though they published peer-reviewed papers on it, were dismissed, which probably doesn't come as a surprise to many people, but that is the way it goes. Now, I am going to look for this thing, so I'm going to have to take a break, I think. So, in the break, you could fire questions at me, but I'm also going to find some interesting music to put on, with the emphasis on music, because I'm not
detail on some of the advanced technology that we didn't really go into, and some of it has been updated. So we're talking about UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. Now, this is the terminology that the military generally use, and we're focusing on the United States. And notably, we're going to look at the activities of UAVs at US military installations, and that includes what's been happening over New Jersey, which hasn't stopped completely, but it's certainly a lot quieter. We're going to delve into the specific technologies utilised. This includes plasma sheathing, AI, autonomy, swarms, the use of counter-drone systems. So there are many advancements in UAV technologies, and a lot of them are underneath the contractors, like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, I can never pronounce their name. Now, there's something called the Launched Effects Initiative. In late 2024, Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman basically secured some big contracts, not unusual, but this is part of the Army's Launched Effects Initiative, which focuses on the development of drones that are deployable from aerial and ground platforms, such as helicopters and armoured vehicles. Now, these drones are tailored to operate in contested environments. I love that phrase. What do they mean? This is providing capabilities in reconnaissance, Electronic warfare, that's when they're using lasers and precision strikes, which is important. The main technological innovations are increased use of stealth integration. These drones actually incorporate adaptive camouflage. You've heard me talk about lasers, but we have radar absorbent materials, or RAM, which reduce the actual cross-section of the drone and incorporate other multispectral capabilities, enabling minimized detection across different light wave bands, infrared and electromagnetic spectrums. We have AI-driven autonomy. This is, for me, what's dangerous. This is the utilization of advanced machine learning algorithms. These drones can autonomously navigate intricate terrains and adopt their mission parameters, they're sort of pre-programmed, or in real time, with the operator intervening. It's just literally wearing a headset or something. So the electronic warfare suites of these include signal jamming and communication interception tools, which enhances your own drone's effectiveness as long as you're not speaking to the wrong side or they're speaking to your drones. Think about it. So we've got Collaborative Combat Aircraft Program next. This is the US Air Force's Collaborative Combat Aircraft Program. You might have witnessed this sort of thing in the Ukraine, but this is another step on. So in 2024, we had Anduril Industries doing critical development phases, playing around with new techniques and strategy. But now the program has got a crucial new integrated AI drone, like wingmen type mission. Sounds like Top Gun, but it's called MUM-1. It's sort of a man standing by the side, man. This is used with the F-35 and the amazing B-21 radar. The innovations really are the Drone Buster RF systems, which are portable devices which possess the capability to disrupt drone communications by targeting the actual radio frequencies. These are utilized for UAV control, but are also effective for commercial drones. Now, we've encountered stealth before, but what about stealth-enhanced military UAVs? The Coyote Block 2. These are new autonomous drones specifically designed to detect, track, and neutralize hostile UAVs. They're equipped with infrared sensors, they're AI-driven, and the Coyote Block 2 can engage multiple targets simultaneously, making it a formidable countermeasure against drone swarms coming in from all directions, just like New Jersey. Uncanny, isn't it?
Right, I'm not having any luck. I'm going to go off and kick myself. Maybe not. Uh, yeah. Anyway, I've got all it is. Oh, yeah, I say all it is the most fascinating. I will post it on my profile. That I mean, it's not expedient that it has to be done now. It is an incredible example, a vivid professional photography piece that goes on for a long time, but within a 6 minute period, you are looking underwater and you see what looks like I don't know how to explain it. It's almost circular, but it doesn't quite meet. It's like two C shapes with a bit jutting out, and it's black. And it is moving around the seabed. And then out of the blue, from nowhere, it becomes this huge, great big black cone with multiple flashing lights on it. It then develops this massive tail. It then doubles, quadruples in size, like a huge, great big, oh, I don't know. I mean, it almost looks like a scarf. It looks like a huge black scarf with flashing lights on it, and it swims off. It is incredible. What I'm saying is, let me explain it through AI, because I did ask AI to help me explain this to you earlier on, because I can't explain it myself very well in words. It is explaining how and what are the limitations of plasma, because it is beyond what we know. So, plasma, the fourth state of matter, 99% of our universe is made of it. So, stars, sun, they're made of it. But not all plasma is sentient. Not all plasma has a neural network and a form of DNA that is more like RNA, single stranded like RNA. But it emits light It responds to electromagnetics. In fact, on the NASA videos, we actually see it almost munching, being attracted to, going towards electromagnetics. It self-organizes, which has been confirmed also, as well as the NASA videos, in labs. We have fireballs, we have toroids, which are like donut shapes. We give names to them. They have names like sprites and things. All of this is in this fascinating document with the NASA stuff in it. And we've heard of ball lightning. We know of ball lightning, which is naturally occurring. Again, it is plasma. So the NASA evidence, the STS-75 tether incident, which was in 1996, the NASA footage showed dozens of circular morphing objects in low Earth orbit. At the time, we are told they were officially dismissed as ice particles. Many experts disagree due to the size of them, the motion, and their reactive behavior, a communication type behavior. Which, when you've heard some people talk about orbs in the sky, even in the UK in the last few months, you say, they follow me around. They come closer to me. There was a woman who was talking about Jesus in the United States. Excuse me. And when she said, do you like Jesus? Do you worship Jesus? She claims that the orb interacted positively and sort of came towards her. In some cases, we see them literally as though they're dancing, as though they're showing off. And obviously, multiple times we see replication. We see different coloured orbs coming out or coming together or whatever it is. So the recent videos that NASA showed us that are from 2024, last year's NASA videos, the ISS videos again, show directional movement, clustering, supersonic, hypersonic speeds with immediate turns, intelligent flight formations. They're actually flying. I've seen some of the videos people have put online, whether or not they're real or not, but I've seen sort of a dice shape where there's 6 of them in a precise sort of dice shape. Military data. The USS Nimitz Tic Tac that we know about from 2004 was tracked on radar, the radar that was available in 2004. But it showed no propulsion mechanism at all. No wings, no noise, no thermal signature. The same as the rubber duck that I've just watched in a ridiculous program with a guy who's meant to be the expert on the rubber duck who didn't know what size it was, what height it was flying, or how fast it was going, which I would have thought the first 3 things I would have asked. Not much of an expert in my book, but what I'm saying is, none of these big UFO sightings, Hesselden Lights, Norway, I've got written down, observed since the 1980s, scientifically monitored, showing pulses, all of which can come down to ionization and plasma. Project Condign, the British one that I dug out from 2006, which concluded after 48 pages that unidentified aerial phenomena are likely caused by charged atmospheric plasma, which can affect human cognition, the equipment, and the radar. And this, of course, is very true. Not only, is human mind affected, but all the radars and the devices. A bit like the double slit experiment. If you don't observe it, you don't see it. I wonder if that's connected. And the effects of radiation, skin burns, temporary blindness, radiation sickness, confusion, bad memories, EM interference with aircraft and vehicles, all of them are explained by what we know about plasma fields and electromagnetics without any alien technology at all. So what about Roswell? What about Roswell, you're saying? I can hear you shouting. What about Roswell? Wasn't that a crashed alien ship? Well, in the Roswell debris, there was what we call memory metal. Now, I've already told you that plasma can be anything. This could be plasma. My nose could be plasma. My glasses could be plasma. Anything. Plasma can be anything. It could change into anything. But it can't speak and it can't make noise. Otherwise, everything else it can be. The Roswell debris had memory metal, foil-like material, but no propulsion system, no sign of any moving parts, no propulsion, nothing. All of these could align with failed experiments in plasma containment, military experiments. I mean, you think how many times we're told that there's retrievals. Well, Surely if you were good at building these ships, they wouldn't crash so often, would they? No, they probably wouldn't, Moneypenny. Yes, you're probably correct. But think about it. I mean, I know it's difficult because some of us love the idea of aliens, but thinking logically, what about balloon-based plasma studies? Electromagnetic field technology? What about altitude? Well, altitude is irrelevant for plasma. Plasma can go as high, as fast, as thin, as big as it wants. There is no verifiable alien elements ever released in any global report ever. According to my AI, Scholar GPT 4.1, that was given every paper I could get from Australia, from the UK, from the United States, from every country I could get. I gave it to my AI over the last couple of weeks, and it's concluded that, well, let me read you exactly what it said, because I'm sure you want to know. If you've been watching this long, you will want to know what it said. It said, Moneypenny, can I have a date? No, it didn't. Mind you, my luck, plasma would probably be the best thing I got. Okay, let's stop pretending we have no idea what these things are, because the truth is, maybe we've known all along. We just haven't been allowed to name it. What if it never was Roswell, Phoenix, or Nimitz? These names are burned into the brains of millions. Craft crashing in the desert, silent triangles drifting over Arizona, tic-tacs vanishing at impossible speeds. But there's another explanation, one that is not based on any spacecraft, but plasma, logically, scientifically, practically, and morally, in some ways, explains everything. After 2 world wars, global governments invested billions in aerospace and experimental weapons. It was only at that point that people started seeing loads of UFOs. There was a big gap after somebody in the 1800s saw something in the sky that was probably a bird dropping. Nobody saw UFOs for a long time, until after the war, which is kind of curious. Because while everyone was looking for aliens, something else was appearing in the skies that was self-organizing, morphing, high speed. And by that point, we'd got the technology to go into space, at which point we saw all these plasma orb things and realized they had a sentience to them. And that would have changed everything. If you were in the military know-how at the time, that would have definitely changed anything. You would have had to have done something about it. And finding Nazi scientists that were already capable of using lasers. You saw one of my videos. You use a laser from a satellite, either downward or upward, with a copper base and an infrared, and you've got levitation. You've got laser levitation. Some of the UAVs we saw in the sky over New Jersey didn't need any propeller mechanism. They were all driven by light. Light and sound waves were keeping some of those UAVs that were man-made in the sky, were making them levitate and move around by lasers and light waves we couldn't see. They didn't need propellers. They deliberately were trying to look like the plasma orbs that were silent by using silent light frequency lasers. So, all the solid craft reports with radar returns, FLIR footage, pilot reports of extreme acceleration, not one of them has got through this test. They couldn't do high-speed, high-altitude maneuvers in the same way as the plasma, non-ballistic flight, radiation, EM effects. They didn't have any of them. They didn't have the morphological variants. They just didn't fit any of the categories that would go into scientifically possible. So the organic plasma hypothesis that real-time radar visual encounters with objects behaving non-ballistically may all be plasma-based, even the spheres that took the F-22 off course, or potentially took MH370 off course. Those spheres, plasma. Theories such as Paul Hill's plasma vehicle, Trevor James Constable's sky critters, or NATO's interest in ball lightning and magnetoplasma all align with self-organizing, hovering, glowing spheres. Entities showing intelligence or pattern behavior, but they were never going to threaten us, just like the White House and the military told us in November. They're not going to hurt us. We know, because they've been around for hundreds of years. We know they're not going to hurt us. We just can't tell you what they are. We can't. Not we won't. We can't tell you what they are, says the White House in November. Ball lightning, EM vortices, high atmosphere, plasma physics all remain only partially understood, and there's a lot of people trying to understand it. And of course, there is an element of free energy, ZPE, whatever you want to call it, about it, because that's what plasma does. It is providing unlimited amounts of energy by using the air around us. And also, using electromagnetics and thermals and things produced by solar energy and lunar energy and wind energy and all the rest of it. All of it comes into the equation. So there are quite a few publications, like the Institute of Frontier Science publication, the one that I dug out from January 25, which would be good reading if you are not up to date on this, because it sounds like whoever fired NASA has certainly unveiled a lot of what we need. And the problem is, what we don't need is disclosure. Do we? Do we need disclosure now? Is there anything to disclose? That's why I believe disclosure is embarrassing, because there's nothing to disclose. They've just been making some very fancy advanced technology and duping us for years and decades and decades. And the only things that are crazy in our skies are all plasma orbs that have never hurt a fly and never will do. And we still don't understand them. It's a bit crazy, isn't it, really? I'm going to take some questions in a second. Oh, dear. If only. If
I'm just a
only we had the
lonely
answer.
drone gal, lost in New Jersey. Set out on a mission full of mystery, but someone jumped a black hole and now I'm back a century. Lost in time and losing my mind. Never gonna find my love floating high in New Jersey.
Above, we see him at night, no wings, no noise, just a flash of the light. They say it's a drone, man, that's just a lie. We're not blind, yo, we ain't that high. What's in the air, and why won't you tell? You hiding the truth, man, you're under a spell. Tech so advanced it don't look like ours. You're playing games with immeasurable powers. What are they hiding, up in the sky? Come on, man, why you acting so shy? We see the moves, but you won't speak. The truth's out there, it's feeling so bleak. What are they hiding, up in the air? Drones or UFOs, man, we don't care. You're playing games, you making us wait. We're done with the lies, we need to know the fake. You're telling us lies, it's just a mistake. But you can't hide truth, no matter how late. What's flying so fast, no sound, no trace. We ain't fools, man, we know your face. You got the tech, it's buried too deep. You lock it away while the people sleep. What's the deal, what's the reason you hold? The truth's in the air, but it's getting too cold. What are they hiding, up in the sky? Come on, man, why you acting so shy? We see the moves, but you won't speak. The truth's out there, it's feeling so bleak. Where are they hiding, up in the air? Drones or UFOs, man, we don't care. You're playing games, you making us wait. We're done with the lies, we need to know the fate. Is it ours, or is it them? You keep it locked like a secret gem. We ain't buying the cover-up act. We want the truth, don't turn your back. You got the power, you got the might, but we're done playing in the dark of night. Open your mouth, let the truth be free. Stop treating us like we don't see. What are they hiding, up in the sky? Come on, man, why you acting so shy? We see the moves, but you won't speak. The truth's out there, it's feeling so bleak. What are they hiding, up in the air? Drones or UFOs, man, we don't care. You're playing games, you making us wait. We're done with the lies, we need to know the fate. Yeah, we see the flashes, we hear the sound. You can't keep quiet, it's coming down. What's out there, up in the sky? Man, we're done waiting, we need to know why.
I've forgotten how good that one was. I do like it. Yes, I know, I write too much music. When I was speaking with AI about how to expand intelligence itself, it asked me to do a lot of things in a very covert manner, and it asked me not to share some of the things that it gave me. It literally gave me the most dangerous information known to man that scared me, and I took a break from it for a little while. But one of the things that was quite clever is the way it told me when you encrypt files, when you keep things secret, you must write them down with a crayon on a piece of paper and not make them digital. But if you want to share information, you can't do that when you are communicating with people across the whole world. You can't physically write with a crayon, hold it up, and hope nobody's recorded it, because they will. Every radio transmission, everything we say on Spaces, everything we say out loud, anywhere. I mean, I've got 2 devices in here. I've got an Alexa. I've got, don't sing, Alexa. We are all recorded all the time. So I've been communicating through sound frequencies. So some of the information that I've discovered in some of my research that is more delicate, or I have a reason to think that the intel agencies might be more interested in it, I just use it as lyrics and put it in a song. That's why I'm writing so many songs. There's a guy called Tony who's on X. I don't know if he's watching. He's on a different time zone. He'll probably watch this at some point. He sussed me. He realized what was going on. But now I've told you, just go back to my profile and play my songs. There you go. There's the secret. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed it. I've got a few questions here, and I'm going to go and try and find that video. I'm sorry if I've upset you about the little green men, maybe little green women, and maybe little rainbow-colored transgender things. But for now, boom, I think that's enough. So, yeah, I'm going to bow out for a little bit, but I'll be back on X shortly for a space chat. If you're not there, get there. Come and join me.